The Stellar Cartographer. Chapter 1. The Ghost of NGC 6302. The worn leather of the pilot's seat creaked in familiar rhythm beneath Rhys Cavanagh's calloused hands. Each creak was a whisper of countless light years traversed, of nebulae charted and stars catalogued. The Pathfinder, his trusty ship, hummed in harmony with his heartbeat, a constant reassurance in the vast, star-strewn expanse. Approaching NGC 6302, Captain. Eva's voice, cool and collected, echoed through the cockpit. Shall we commence standard survey protocols? Rhys let out a chuckle, his eyes twinkling with amusement as they reflected the nebula's kaleidoscopic glow on the view screen. Always so formal, Ava. But yes, let's see what secrets this cosmic butterfly is hiding. The Pathfinder glided through the ethereal tendrils of gas and dust, each sensor alert for any anomaly that might pique Rhys's insatiable curiosity. He ran a hand through his salt and pepper beard, his gaze fixed on the swirling spectacle before him. It had been 10 long years since the Signian Empire's brutal raid on his home colony, a tragedy that had extinguished his family and ignited a burning desire for exploration within him. Each new star system he charted, each nebula he traversed, was a step further away from the pain and a step closer to a future where humanity could thrive beyond the Empire's iron grasp. Anomaly detected, Eva's voice cut through Rhys's reverie. Bearing 030 Mark II. Energy signature consistent with a derelict vessel. A thrill shot through Rhys. A derelict vessel in such a remote region? The possibilities were endless. Perhaps a long-lost explorer, a treasure trove of ancient technology, or even a clue to the origins of the mysterious wormhole network he had stumbled upon years ago. He adjusted the ship's trajectory, his heart pounding with anticipation. Let's have a closer look, shall we? He murmured, a mischievous glint in his eyes. As the Pathfinder approached the derelict vessel, its silhouette emerged from the nebula's haze. It was an otherworldly sight, an elegant design unlike anything Rhys had encountered before. Its hull bore intricate markings, a language of symbols that whispered of a civilization lost to time. Ava, any preliminary analysis? Rhys asked, his voice laced with excitement. Vessel appears to be of unknown origin, Ava replied. Age estimated to be several millennia. Hull integrity compromised, but internal systems may still be operational. Rhys nodded, his curiosity piqued. Let's suit up, Ava. It's time to pay our respects to the past. Donning their EVA suits, Rhys and Ava ventured into the derelict vessel's airlock. The interior was dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of decay and disuse. Yet a sense of wonder filled Rhys as he surveyed the alien technology, the strange devices and consoles that lined the walls. Each step was a journey into the unknown, a glimpse into a civilization that had once thrived in this corner of the galaxy. Fascinating, Ava remarked, her voice tinged with awe. The level of craftsmanship is unparalleled. This vessel was a masterpiece of its time. Rhys nodded in agreement, his fingers tracing the contours of an ornate control panel. As he did so, a soft hum filled the chamber, and a holographic display flickered to life. It depicted a complex star map, interwoven with intricate symbols and patterns. Ava, what are we looking at? Rhys asked, his eyes wide with wonder. It appears to be a network of spatial anomalies, Ava replied, analyzing the data with lightning speed. Stable wormholes, connecting distant regions of the galaxy. Rhys's heart skipped a beat. Wormholes, the holy grail of interstellar travel. If this map was accurate, it could revolutionize exploration and trade, opening up the galaxy to untold possibilities. But as Rhys reached out to touch the map, a sudden jolt shook the vessel. The lights flickered, and a klaxon blared through the ship's comm system. Warning, incoming transmission! Eva's voice crackled with urgency. Unidentified signal originating from the nebula. A chill ran down Rhys's spine. Could this be a trap? Was someone else aware of their discovery? He exchanged a worried glance with Ava, their shared excitement now overshadowed by a looming sense of danger. Ava, patch it through, Rhys ordered, his voice steely with resolve. Let's see who else is interested in the ghost of NGC 6302. Chapter 2. The Signian Shadow. Static crackled, then a voice, cold and sharp as a blade, filled the derelict vessel's cockpit. Captain Rhys Cavanagh, this is Commander Anya Valerian of the Cygnian Imperial Fleet. You are in possession of property belonging to the Empire. Surrender the artifact and your vessel immediately or face the consequences. Rhys's grip tightened on the astrolabe. He recognized that voice, the icy tone that had haunted his nightmares for years. Anya Valerian, the woman who had led the raid on his home colony, the woman responsible for the deaths of his family. He met Eva's gaze, a silent exchange of determination passing between them. Eva, scramble our comms. I'll handle the talking. Rhys leaned into the comm panel, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Commander Valerian, what a surprise to hear your voice again. To what do I owe this pleasure? A sardonic chuckle echoed through the speakers. Don't play coy with me, Cavanagh. We know about your discovery. Surrender the astrolabe and I might consider sparing your life. Oh, I'm sure you would, Rhys retorted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. After all, you're known for your mercy. Don't push me, Cavanagh. This is your final warning. Rhys grinned, a defiant fire burning in his eyes. Final warning, huh? Sounds like the Empire is a little desperate. Perhaps your precious astrolabe isn't as easy to control as you thought. You'll regret those words, Cavanagh. Anya's voice was venomous. Prepare to be boarded. The comm line went dead. Rhys sprang into action, his movements swift and practiced. Eva, get us out of here! Plot a course through the nebula, something unpredictable. Already on it, Captain, Eva chirped, her voice tinged with a hint of excitement. Buckle up. This is going to be a bumpy ride. The Pathfinder roared to life, its engines straining as it surged away from the derelict vessel. The nebula's iridescent clouds whipped past the view screen, a chaotic dance of light and shadow. Rhys pulled back on the yoke, weaving the ship through the labyrinthine corridors of gas and dust. Eva, any sign of pursuit? He asked, his eyes scanning the sensor readings. Multiple Cygnian cruisers closing in, Eva reported, but they're having trouble navigating the nebula. Our lead is holding. Rhys let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He knew the Cygnians wouldn't give up easily, but the nebula was their home turf. They had charted its every nook and cranny, memorized its hidden currents and eddies. Let's see how they handle a little turbulence, Rhys muttered, a wicked grin spreading across his face. He pushed the Pathfinder to its limits, diving into a dense cloud of ionized gas. The ship bucked and shuddered, but Rhys held firm, his hands steady on the controls. He could hear the strained cries of alarm from the Cygnian pilots over the comms, their voices laced with frustration and fear. Rhys laughed, the sound echoing through the cockpit. Come and get me, Valerian, he taunted. Let's see who the better pilot is. Chapter 3. Allies in the Dark. The Pathfinder shuddered as it emerged from hyperspace, the nebula's kaleidoscopic glow replaced by the cold, harsh light of a binary star system. A distress signal pulsed on the comm panel, its urgency painting a grim picture in Rhys's mind. Coordinates match a Nebulan resistance outpost, Eva reported, her voice tight with concern. They're under heavy fire. Rhys felt a surge of anger. The Nebulans were a peaceful people, known for their harmonious coexistence with the nebula's delicate ecosystem. The Cygnian Empire, with its thirst for conquest and disregard for life, had no right to violate their sanctuary. Looks like we found ourselves a detour, Eva, Rhys said, a steely determination in his eyes. Let's show those Cygnians what happens when they mess with a cartographer's friends. The Pathfinder hurtled towards the embattled outpost, its weapons systems primed and ready. As they approached, Rhys could see the chaos unfolding below. Nebulan fighters desperately weaving between laser blasts, Cygnian cruisers raining fire down on the surface, and a sprawling network of domes and tunnels that formed the heart of the Resistance base. Eva, target their cruisers. We need to give the Nebulans some breathing room, Rhys instructed, his hands dancing across the control panel. The Pathfinder's cannons roared, unleashing a barrage of energy bolts that struck the Cygnian ship's shields, causing them to sputter and fail. One cruiser, caught off guard, exploded in a fiery inferno, its debris raining down on the battlefield. That's for the nebula, you bastards, Rhys snarled, a vengeful satisfaction filling him. With the Cygnians momentarily distracted, Rhys swooped down towards the outpost, his ship's landing gear screeching as it touched down on the scorched landing pad. He and Eva quickly donned their EVA suits and exited the ship, blaster pistols at the ready. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of ozone. Rhys ducked behind a pile of crates as a stray laser blast whizzed past his head. He peeked over the edge, scanning the battlefield for any sign of friendly forces. "Over there!" Eva's voice crackled in his earpiece. "A group of nebulans taking cover in a nearby tunnel." Rhys nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "Let's go introduce ourselves." They sprinted towards the tunnel, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence that followed each burst of gunfire. As they reached the entrance, a figure emerged from the shadows, their blaster rifle trained on Rhys and Ava. "Halt! Identify yourselves!" the figure demanded, their voice trembling slightly. Rhys raised his hands, his pistol lowered. "We're friends. We intercepted your distress signal and came to help." The figure hesitated, their eyes narrowing as they studied Rhys and Ava. "You're not Cygnians?" "No," Rhys replied. "I'm Captain Rhys Cavanagh, and this is my AI companion, Eva. We're on the run from the Empire, and we need your help." The figure lowered their weapon, a cautious look on their face. "I'm Alara," they said, stepping into the light. "Welcome to the Nebulan Resistance." Rhys and Alara exchanged a long look, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Ilara's face was hauntingly familiar, yet subtly different. It was then that Rhys realized who she was, Anya Valerian's twin sister. "Ilara Valerian?" Rhys asked, his voice barely a whisper. Ilara nodded, a sad smile on her face. "I haven't gone by that name in a long time. But yes, that was me. I left the Empire when I saw what they were becoming." Rhys felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over him. Shock, anger, and a glimmer of hope. He had found an unexpected ally, someone who could help him understand the depths of Anya's depravity and the Empire's true intentions for the astrolabe. Chapter 4. The Weapon Within. The hum of the astrolabe filled the cramped, makeshift lab deep within the Nebulan outpost. Rhys, Alara, and Eva huddled around the device, their faces illuminated by its ethereal glow. Days had turned into nights as they tirelessly worked to unlock its secrets. Rhys's fingers traced the intricate grooves and symbols etched into the astrolabe's surface. His brow furrowed in concentration. "It's like trying to read a language written in starlight," he muttered, frustration creeping into his voice. Ilara, her brow mirroring Rhys's intensity, nodded in agreement. "The complexity is staggering. Whoever built this possessed knowledge far beyond our understanding." Eva, her holographic form hovering above the device, interjected. "Analysis suggests the astrolabe is not merely a navigational tool, as we initially assumed. It's a weapon." Rhys and Alara exchanged a startled glance. A weapon? This delicate, seemingly harmless device? It seemed impossible. "What kind of weapon?" Rhys asked, his voice barely a whisper. "A gravitational manipulator," Ava replied, her tone grave. "Capable of warping space-time, creating singularities, even collapsing stars." Silence descended upon the lab, the weight of Eva's words hanging heavy in the air. Rhys felt a cold knot of dread forming in his stomach. The implications were horrifying. If the Empire got their hands on this kind of power, the galaxy would be at their mercy. "We have to stop them," Alara said, her voice shaking with anger. "We can't let Anya use this to destroy innocent lives." Rhys nodded, his resolve hardening. "We won't, but first, we need to understand how it works. We need to find a way to neutralize it." They spent countless hours poring over the data Eva had collected, piecing together the puzzle of the astrolabe's inner workings. It was a slow, painstaking process, but gradually, they began to make sense of the device's complex architecture. One evening, as the binary stars outside cast long shadows across the lab, Rhys let out a triumphant cry. "I think I've got it!" Alara and Ava rushed to his side, eager to hear his breakthrough. "The astrolabe operates on a harmonic resonance principle," Rhys explained, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "It amplifies gravitational waves to create specific effects. If we can disrupt that resonance, we can disable the weapon." Ilara's face lit up with hope. "But how do we do that?" Rhys paused, his brow furrowing again. "I'm not sure yet, but I have an idea. It's risky, but it might just work." He outlined his plan, his voice filled with a quiet confidence that belied the danger of their mission. Ilara listened intently, her eyes widening as the pieces fell into place. "It's brilliant," she said, a smile spreading across her face. It's absolutely crazy, but it might just be brilliant enough to work. Ava nodded in agreement. The odds of success are low, but the potential reward is immeasurable. The fate of the galaxy may rest on this. Rhys looked at his companions, a steely determination in his eyes. Then let's do it. Let's show the Empire that even the smallest spark of defiance can ignite a revolution. Chapter 5. A Desperate Gambit. The Pathfinder emerged from hyperspace, cloaked in stolen Cygnian IFF codes, a phantom slipping past the watchful eyes of Corvus Prime's orbital defenses. Rhys gripped the controls, his knuckles white as he guided the ship towards the planet's sprawling cityscape below. "We're in," Eva whispered, her voice barely audible over the thrum of the engines. Security protocols overridden, cloaking field holding steady. Rhys exchanged a tense glance with Ilara, who sat beside him in the co-pilot's chair. They were both clad in stolen Cygnian officer uniforms, their faces masked by neural scramblers that distorted their features and voices. Ilara's hand tightened on her disguised holdout blaster. "Ready?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "As I'll ever be," Rhys replied, his gaze fixed on the sprawling metropolis rising to meet them. The Pathfinder descended into the heart of Corvus Prime, weaving through towering skyscrapers and bustling air traffic. The city was a testament to the Empire's might and opulence, a glittering facade masking a rotten core of corruption and cruelty. They landed on a secluded rooftop, far from the prying eyes of security cameras and patrol drones. Rhys, Ilara, and Eva exited the ship, blending seamlessly into the throng of pedestrians. The streets were alive with activity, a cacophony of alien languages and the clatter of hover vehicles. "Remember," Rhys whispered, his eyes scanning the crowd, "stay in character. We're Cygnian officers on official business. Any slip-up could blow our cover." Ilara nodded, her eyes focused on the map displayed on her neural interface. "The astrolabe chamber is located in the central command tower. We'll have to access it through the security checkpoint on the 50th floor." They made their way through the bustling crowds, their disguises holding firm. Rhys's heart pounded in his chest as they approached the command tower, a monolith of gleaming metal and reflective glass that pierced the sky. At the security checkpoint, a pair of guards, clad in black armor and wielding energy rifles, stood sentinel. Rhys stepped forward, his voice steady as he presented his forged identification card. "Lieutenant Rhys, Cygnian Intelligence," he said, his tone clipped and authoritative. "We have urgent business with the Astrolabe project. Clear our access immediately." The guards scanned the ID card, their faces impassive. One of them spoke into a comm unit, confirming Rhys's credentials. After a tense moment, they stepped aside, their rifles lowered. "Proceed, Lieutenant," the guard said. "But be warned, the Astrolabe is a matter of utmost security. Any unauthorized access will be met with lethal force." Rhys nodded curtly and motioned for Ilara and Ava to follow him. They entered the command tower, their footsteps echoing in the sterile, high-tech corridors. The tension was palpable, each step bringing them closer to their goal and closer to danger. As they reached the 50th floor, the elevator doors slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with blinking lights and humming machinery. At the center of the chamber, suspended in a shimmering energy field, was the Astrolabe. It pulsed with a sinister light, its intricate mechanisms whirring and clicking like a living, breathing entity. Ilara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. It's operational." Rhys felt a chill run down his spine. They were too late. The Empire had already activated the Astrolabe. He could see the coordinates displayed on a nearby console, the target clear, the Nebulan homeworld. "We have to stop it," Rhys said, his voice barely a whisper, "before it's too late." Ilara nodded, her eyes filled with a grim determination. "Then let's get to work." Chapter 6, A Star's Requiem. The Astrolabe chamber crackled with raw energy, a swirling vortex of gravitational forces, threatening to consume them all. Rhys and Anya stood on opposite sides of the device, locked in a deadly dance of wills. Anya's eyes burned with a cold fury, her hand hovering over a control panel. "You fool," she spat. "You'll destroy us all." Rhys met her gaze, his voice steady. "No, Anya, I'm ending this. I'm ending your reign of terror." He lunged forward, his hand outstretched towards the Astrolabe. Anya reacted instantly, slamming her hand down on the panel. The astrolabe shuddered, its energy output surging. A shockwave of force knocked Rhys off his feet, sending him sprawling across the floor. Ilara and Eva, working frantically at a nearby console, saw their opportunity. "Now, Rhys!" Ilara shouted, her voice filled with urgency. Rhys scrambled to his feet, ignoring the searing pain in his ribs. He reached for the astrolabe, his fingers brushing against its smooth surface. As he made contact, a surge of power coursed through him, a symphony of cosmic energy resonating within his very being. He closed his eyes, focusing his will. He could feel the astrolabe's power, raw and untamed, pulsing beneath his fingertips. He reached out with his mind, probing the device's intricate workings, searching for the key to its destruction. Eva's voice echoed in his mind, guiding him through the labyrinthine pathways of the astrolabe's programming. The resonance frequency, Rhys. Find it, amplify it, overload the system. Rhys felt the astrolabe's energy building within him, a crescendo of power threatening to overwhelm him. He gritted his teeth, pushing his limits, seeking the harmonic frequency that would shatter the device's fragile equilibrium. Anya screamed in frustration as the astrolabe's energy output began to fluctuate wildly. The chamber filled with a deafening cacophony of alarms and warnings. The lights flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. Rhys, his eyes still closed, focused all his energy on the astrolabe. He found the resonance frequency, a high-pitched whine that resonated deep within his bones. With a final surge of willpower, he amplified the frequency, pushing the astrolabe to its breaking point. The chamber exploded in a blinding flash of light and sound. The astrolabe shattered into 1,000 pieces, its energy dissipating in a wave of cosmic radiation. The wormhole network collapsed, severing the Empire's lifeline and plunging Corvus Prime into darkness. Rhys opened his eyes, the world spinning around him. He could hear the sounds of battle raging outside, the roar of blaster fire and the cries of triumph. The Nebulan resistance had stormed the command tower, seizing control of the Empire's nerve center. He stumbled to his feet, his body aching but his spirit soaring. He had done it. He had stopped Anya and saved countless lives. In the aftermath of the battle, Rhys stood on the balcony of the command tower, watching as the sun rose over a liberated Corvus Prime. He was joined by Ilara, her face glowing with a newfound hope. "We did it, Rhys," she said, her voice filled with joy. "We actually did it." Rhys nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "It's a new dawn for the galaxy, Ilara, a dawn of freedom and hope." He turned to face her, a warm smile on his face. "And it's all thanks to you, my friend. Without your help, I never would have been able to stop Anya." Ilara smiled back, her eyes filled with gratitude. "We did it together, Rhys, and together we'll continue to explore this vast universe, seeking out new wonders and new adventures." Rhys reached out and took her hand, his heart swelling with a sense of purpose and belonging. He had found a new family, a new home among the stars. And as the Pathfinder soared into the sky, leaving Corvus Prime behind, Rhys knew that their journey had only just begun.